Or an act of addiction. It's not making you less of a man or a woman to ask for help. But if you are asking for help, mean it. It's a great thing that you want the help, but you need to mean it, and you need to be ready. Because it's not for the faint of heart, and it's not for the weak. My name is Aaron Kiersted, and I recover loud.
I recover loud, I recover loud, I recover loud, I recover loud. Let's go. I'm on a journey to discover the truth. Living life in recovery is lovely. You got the power in you. Surround yourself with positive energy. Judges hitting people with provocative penalties. Need to make a change. Advocate to change the laws. Prove to people that it's not insane. When you stand behind a cause, I'm here to speak about the pain. Recover loud to normalize the disease that's been killing all my friends and my family. The time is now to let it all go and recover loud. The benefit is healthy people, family and friends that never have to overdose ever again, never have to plead out to a lesser offense. I'm proud to say that I recover loud. I never thought I could, but I'm so proud that I discovered how to live my life again, controlling my own destiny. I needed recovery, I still need it desperately. Addiction never defined my identity. I recover loud, here to tell my own story. I recover proud, save a life of like 40. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover loud, here to tell my own story. I recover proud, save a life of like 40. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover loud. I recover loud.
Welcome to this episode of Recover Loud, everyone. Tonight's guest is Aaron Kiersted. Aaron, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up.
I grew up in Presque Isle, Maine. Born and raised. Still live there. Grew up in a very loving pastor's home.
Growing up in a pastor's home, not everybody knows what that's like.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like for you?
Anytime the church doors was open, we was there.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. And the people, certain people you get into a debate with, it doesn't bode well, because some people are under the impression that pastors are not human, and they're just as human as you or I.
Yeah.
They bleed, they hurt, and I'll show. Somebody said that to me. Pastors aren't human, and I said, well, let's take a trip back to when I was about 10 or 11 and messed up at church one night, and about 11 o'clock after the anointing is lifted. I'll show you just how human my dad was.
Interesting point you make, because even when we're kids, we look at teachers differently.
Oh yeah.
Teachers aren't just like normal people. So, and that's one of the reasons I asked the question, because we don't automatically assume that it's just a normal family life. And that kids don't have phases and things like that. So,
well, they say that pastors' kids are the worst ones.
Yeah, and here you are today.
I proved that point.
Well, at what age do you feel like you may have started to rebel?
So I was, I think I was 15 when I first smoked pot.
Okay.
And 15, 16 in that area. I must have been 16, because would have been June 20th, 2001. My mom passed away, and that was a trauma, a childhood trauma that I never fully and correctly dealt with.
Gotcha.
And that's what started me down a road that was not good.
So, first of all, I'm sorry to hear about that. And how old were you? You were 16
I was
at that
16.
time?
I was 16, and my sister was 9.
Mm. And what caused your mom's death?
Breast cancer.
Okay. I actually lost my mom to lung cancer about 10 years ago. And it's rough, because you see the decline in health.
With her, it happened quick.
Did it?
Yeah, she had breast cancer back in '98, and long story short, went into remission, started feeling like a human again. Mm-hmm. And March 23rd, 2001, she found out that she had cancer again. And 3 months to the day that she found out, we laid her to rest.
Yeah. Now, did that cause you to question your religion or anything like that?
There's always, I don't care how strong in your faith you are, there's always a question, but even at 16 years old, I had seen too much evidence that God is real. Mm-hmm. So I never really questioned that God was real. What I did question is why my mom, and why us? Yeah. Because we're good people. Yeah. You know what I mean? We were good people, and at 16 years old, I just didn't understand that.
Yeah. And now I know for me today, I know that I may never know why something happens, and I don't need to.
Right.
I just accept what is.
Yeah.
And I was explaining to you earlier, I didn't grow up with faith or religion.
Sure.
But I was interested. Mm-hmm. I didn't feel like we just kind of appeared here without, something happening first. And but it wasn't until recovery that I really found God. Mm-hmm. It was November 3rd, 2018, that I left Caribou. And I first went to detox, and I went to a rehab in Old Orchard Beach, which is a beautiful place for rehab. And on Sundays, we were allowed to leave. We'd have we could go for an hour walk. Sure. And the beach is right around the corner. So it was 2 weeks in, my first Sunday that I could go for a walk. And I'd gone down, and I was just kind of staring there by myself, staring out there at the water. And I couldn't believe how big the world looked at that moment. The ocean went on as far as I could see. Mm-hmm. The sky was just so massive. Mm-hmm. And I just got this, as I'm staring at the waves coming closer and closer, but I just got this feeling that came over me. And I dropped to my knees, and I started to cry. Mm-hmm. And the need for prayer came, but I didn't know how to even start. What I did was I started thanking Him for keeping me alive.
Absolutely.
Because I know everything that I'd done up to that point could have killed anybody.
Oh yeah.
And I started thanking Him for keeping my family alive. Yes. Because I didn't choose to use and drive my family around. Mm-hmm. But we weren't going anywhere unless I was high. Right.
Oh yeah. I know that feeling awful well.
Every day, all day.
Yeah. Built your day around getting high.
Exactly. But of course, the kids need to go to school. Yeah. They need to go to Little League games. So there wasn't that, desire to do. And from that moment on, I really felt a connection to something greater than myself.
Well, everybody on the face of the planet has a divine purpose. Mm-hmm. And so you can't have a divine purpose without a divine witness. Yes. And that was a divine witness of protection in your life. Yeah. I've had a few. Yeah. I've had a few. So all the way through high school, I smoked a lot of weed. Mm-hmm. And that back at that point in time, that was when OxyContin was first starting to make its big break into the state of Maine. And for they did a general assembly at the high school, you know, showing the cause and effect of OxyContin, and to be honest, it scared the hell out of me.
Well,
You know, and not to say that I never touched it, but up through high school, I never touched any hard drugs.
yeah.
And then I graduated. I didn't march with my class, telling an English teacher to F off. That'll get you to not march with your class.
Yeah.
And so I did a semester of adult ed, got my diploma,
Okay.
and then I cleaned up my act. You know, I stopped smoking cigarettes. I stopped smoking pot. I still, back at that point in time, I was working on a farm, so everybody on that particular farm, they did skull, so I did too.
Yeah.
You know, just another example, small example. You can become a product of your environment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, I did a year and a half at Bible College down at Faith School of Theology in Charleston, Maine.
Now, was that a goal of yours or a plan of yours?
Well, I felt the call of God on my life. Even through all the calamity.
Mm-hmm.
I felt the call of God on my life, and so I went, and I was never a good student.
Mm-hmm.
All the way through school, I was never a good student. For me to sit in a class, put me into something that I can lay my hands on and build.
Right.
I'm gonna excel. Music. Band was a godsend for me.
Me too. What did you play?
Drums.
Okay.
Drums. Mr. Dan Schneider was my band teacher and still continues to be a great friend to this day.
Yeah.
And if it hadn't been for him back during those times, I'd probably be a different person.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I was a trumpet player.
All right.
And in '94, I was second chair all over stick.
Yep.
And
for Presque Isle or Caribou?
Caribou.
Oh.
But yeah, band actually, was a big thing for me too.
Mm.
That direction, it kept me out of trouble in school.
Mm.
I started smoking weed my senior year, and I didn't do hard drugs. I drank with my family, and when I drank, the way I was taught to drink was start at 9, drink to pass out or throw up, and don't throw up in the house. Having that to hold on to during those years was definitely beneficial for me. And it was actually suggested by one of my counselors in rehab that maybe I should pick up the trumpet.
Mm-hmm.
So as a drummer, did you continue after high school?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did. So it really started for me with the high school band even before I was in high school.
Okay.
Because 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I was homeschooled. And so I did my lessons with Mr. Schneider.
Mm-hmm.
And he saw something in me that, he saw a prodigy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm the best drummer in the world, but he saw something. Yeah. And he's like, could use you in the Peth band, in the for games and stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, oh yeah. Like
right.
6th grader getting to play with a high school band.
Right.
I was like a little kid at Christmas, and so he started me out on the snare drum, and I was rocking that, and then a guy named Josh Taylor, he was playing the quad toms, and I took a liking to that, and so he started kind of switching on and off with me, and it was great, and then so all through high school, I started playing in church back at that time, and I started playing down at camp meeting down in Bridgewater at the Rooster Pentecostal Campground.
Okay.
My best friend Andy Shaw, he was the drummer there for years, and his dad Calvin played the bass. One of the best bass players I've ever played with. He's gone from us now, but So that was quite an honor, to get to play for camp meeting. That was the highlight of my year almost.
Yeah.
And then I moved on, and like I said, I did a year and a half at Faith School of Theology, and I played for chapel, played for the choir, got in on the rotation down at Charleston Pentecostal Church, every whatever Sunday I was there that
Right.
they had me on for, and then I came out of college, and I mentioned my best friend Andy. He was the youth pastor and worship leader over at Easton Pentecostal Church, and so that summer that I came out of college, I had met my wife at college, and we got married, and we started going to Easton Pentecostal Church, and I started getting in on the rotation playing there, and it wasn't until I played all the way through my addiction, up until about 2018.
Okay.
And I knew I was doing wrong, and I didn't belong on the platform.
Yeah.
And so I quit going to church for a while.
Okay.
I was embarrassed about life. But I knew I couldn't do that anymore.
So with your background and things going well for you, seemingly, what actually led you to use?
Pardon?
What actually led you to using?
Would have been early 2006. I started working. I was embarrassed about life. But I knew I couldn't do that anymore.
So with your background and things going well for you, seemingly, what actually led you to use?
Pardon?
What actually led you to using?
Would have been early 2006. I started working at McCain's night shift, and for the first little while, of course, it was new. It was exciting, and then it just became a humdrum job, and
Yeah.
I couldn't stay awake. I found it hard to sleep. And back at that time, my wife and I had our first kid, and it was just hard to sleep during the day.
Yeah.
And then you get up, you drag yourself to work, and that was back when they had 8-hour shifts,
Yeah.
and I couldn't stand it, and I couldn't stay awake.
Yeah.
But I noticed all the guys that were working on the line that I was working on, they were bouncing, just bouncing.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Here, come on, pick up. We'll fix you up." And went out to pick up break time and pulled out a junction box cover, metal junction box cover. And he laid me out a line of crank. And he says, "This will help you out." I wound that into me, and after my beak stopped burning,
Right.
I was on bounce
Yeah.
for about 3 days.
Yeah.
And and I didn't want any more for about 3 days. And when I finally came down, I slept for a day,
Yep.
and I got back up, and it was a vicious cycle after that.
Yep. I'm grateful that I don't use today because
Yeah.
it would be so easy for me to take that path.
Yeah.
Because it makes it easy to make it through those shifts.
Yeah.
One thing today I'm grateful for is the struggles I do have. How often were you using
Oh,
after that?
Anytime I get my hands on it.
Yeah.
I had a buddy that was right there in Easton, and I started into the scrap metal business with him.
Okay.
And you know, we got big quick. You know, at one point in time we were putting out a 53-foot, you know, trailer truck full of copper, brass, stainless, you know, all your non-ferrous, high-priced metals, you know, every week.
Yeah.
Every week. But all our profits either went up our nose or into a pipe.
Okay.
And I went back after that whole fiasco fizzled out. I went back to work for a local contractor that had given me a pretty good start back in '05, a really good start. Matter of fact, I'm still doing some work for him today.
Oh, nice.
Which is really cool. You know, think how things come full circle.
Oh yeah.
You know, and so I started working for him in early '08, and he really didn't have a lot going on, and he just kind of created stuff.
Able to use while you were working for him?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Hiding it from him?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. And the thing about him is, you know, he's not stupid, and he's got his own stories. He didn't ask a lot of questions either.
Gotcha.
You know.
Yeah. And like you said, he gave you a pretty good start, and you know, I have a similar friend. He knew who I was using. Even though I'd show up you know, every morning and tell him that I hadn't used in 2 weeks, he knew better.
No.
I was getting paid daily, and I was always broke the next
Yeah.
morning. But he hired me to paint his house, and it's a small house, and you know, I got around the house, basically done, and I couldn't see an issue with any spot anywhere. But he seemed to find a spot at the top.
No, yeah.
So, well, you know, want to go up there and hit that again? While you're up there, you might as well do that wall. So I did that wall a second time. Then he found a spot on another wall. I painted this house probably 3 or 4 times. And what he was doing, and I didn't see it in the beginning, he was keeping me busy, trying to keep me out of trouble.
Yeah.
Knowing that at the end of the day I was tired, I was going home, and I wasn't going to be up long because I knew he was coming to get me the next morning.
Yeah.
And he didn't mind. You know, he had the money to pay me.
Sure.
And, you know, the one issue I had with him at the time, and it was actually an issue for a little while once I got into recovery, I found out later on that he'd been going to AA meetings, you know, for years. And he never mentioned it.
Yeah.
You know, he knew I was struggling, but he didn't say, come to a meeting with me.
Right.
You know, he didn't tell me that there were meetings. And then I found out about the program itself, really. And it's about attraction, not promotion. You know, so he's not going to come force me to go to a meeting.
Right.
He's not going to, you know, he's just going to live his life.
Right.
And wait for me to ask, you know.
Well, and probably at that time you weren't ready.
And yeah, exactly. Right. And, you know, if I were ready, I may have read between the lines.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But
2020, I was at the peak of.
And how bad did that get for you?
Oh, bad. I like, you know, maybe not as bad as others, but you know, I had the reoccurring vision of my life circling the toilet bowl drain.
Yeah.
You know, repeatedly, and you know, I was flat broke, but I always found a way to get dope.
Right. Yeah, we're pretty resourceful.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Those times.
I mean, you know, I didn't resort to thieving or whatever, you know, stealing or whatever. That never became part of my repertoire.
Right.
You know, first of all, I don't want to get shot.
Exactly. Yep.
You know, people around here, they'll shoot you.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So, late 2019, going into 2020, my best friend Andy, whom we do a lot of carpentry work together.
Okay.
I was, you know, I like, you know, using every day. I built my day around getting high.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And you know, he saw everything that was happening. You know, and you know, he's my best friend. He's more like my brother than anything.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, he wanted to help me. He wanted to help me, but you know, as you well know, until you're ready to help yourself,
Right.
nobody can help you.
Absolutely.
And they'll die and they'll go broke trying.
Yeah. And if they push too hard, you'll move away.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he said, I know of a place that you can go, and if I can get you in, will you go? And I was ready. I was ready.
Had you guys had conversations
Oh yeah.
before?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You know, he never pressed too hard
Mm-hmm.
because he, you know, I think he knew I probably would have flipped in the bird
Right.
and gone the other way.
Yeah.
Even though he is my brother.
Mhm.
You know, when you're in that frame and state of mind, you know, you don't need people looking over your shoulder. You don't
Exactly.
want people looking over your shoulder, and
Right.
you know. And so, you know, he asked me that question for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he says, "Will you go?" Like I said, I was ready,
Mm-hmm.
and I you know, I had no other recourse.
Mm.
You know, my wife was an extremely patient woman. My kids, you know, still loved me,
Mm.
but I wanted that to continue.
Yeah. So how many kids did you have? You mentioned that you started using with your first,
Yeah,
married with your first one.
yeah. We have two boys, Hunter and Josiah. Josiah will graduate this spring, and Hunter will be heading into 8th grade, which is incredible.
Yeah.
You know, I missed a lot during those years,
Yeah.
a lot. So anyway, Andy asked me if I would go, and I said yes. And you know, this is where the tough love came in. He says, "Good."
Mhm.
He said, "Because if you'd have answered the other direction, I was done with you.
Yeah.
Done." And you know, I when he asked me that question, I was pretty high,
Yeah.
but I sobered up real quick when he said that, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Right.
and so I went. It wasn't a rehab per se. I call it a rehab. It was the right program for me.
Yeah.
It was more of a sober living house
Okay.
down in Orrington,
Mm-hmm.
and it was ran by another good friend of mine. His name's Seth D.
Okay.
He pastors the House 27-4 church in the Bangor Mall,
Okay.
and it's quite something because what I knew Seth, I knew Seth very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite something to become his subordinate because he's younger than I am. And I remember the snot-nosed little turd of a kid that he was at camp,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm thinking to myself, what am I doing? You know, and you know, he himself showed me a lot of tough love,
Mm.
you know, and he exuded his authority in a way that didn't it rubbed me the wrong way, but it rubbed me the wrong way in the right way.
Gotcha.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
the first week that I was there, I did nothing but sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just, I was done. And so, I got to back up a little bit.
Okay.
So I came home in early 2020, February 2020, and of course, COVID's getting ready to hit. You know, pandemic. I did good for 6 months, and but I didn't change some people that I hung around with, and you know, I'd had a long hot couple weeks, and I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. somebody was packing a pipe, firing up a torch, and I got in the circle.
Yeah.
And the next thing I knew, I was behind an 8-ball. And another.
Yeah.
And another. And it was a vicious circle until my buddy Andy, thank God for him, and he looks at me point blank, he says, "Are you using again?" No. He says, "Let me rephrase. If I piss tested you right now, would you piss dirty?"
What keeps you from going back to that?
Well, you are who you hang around with.
Let's go. I'm on a journey to discover the truth. Living life in recovery is lovely. You got the power in you. Surround yourself with positive energy. Judges hitting people with provocative penalties. Need to make a change. Advocate to change the laws. Prove to people that it's not insane. When you stand behind a cause, I'm here to speak about the pain. Recover loud to normalize the disease that's been killing all my friends and my family. The time is now to let it all go and recover loud. The benefit is healthy people, family and friends that never have to overdose ever again, never have to plead out to a lesser offense. I'm proud to say that I recover loud. I never thought I could, but I'm so proud that I discovered how to live my life again, controlling my own destiny. I needed recovery, I still need it desperately. Addiction never defined my identity. I recover loud, here to tell my own story. I recover proud, save a life of like 40.